I'll pick up where we left off, goddammit. Like, I can't watch this motherfucker. Ha! All right. It's not gonna fucking get straight or whatever. But anyway. So next we're on fallacy of denying the antecedents. Now that we've discussed 5 traditional valid argument forms, we'll look at 2 common invalid argument forms. We should remember that a formal fallacy is an argument containing an error in its structure. Both the fallacy of denying the antecedents and the fallacy of affirming the consequent are formal fallacies. Let's consider the first. If I am patient, then I will find a job. I am not patient. Therefore, I will not find a job. Here is the symbolic form of the argument. If A, then B. Not A, therefore not B. We see in this example that the antecedent in the first premise is denied in the second premise. This denial leads to a denial of the consequent in the conclusion. However, this argument is fallacious. Simply because the person is impatient doesn't necessarily mean he or she won't find a job. Here are some additional examples. If Aquinas was a rationalist, then he believed in a spiritual realm. Aquinas was not a rationalist. Therefore, Aquinas did not believe in a spiritual realm. Example number 2. If Franklin is guilty of murder, then he should be incarcerated. Franklin is not guilty of murder. Therefore, he should not be incarcerated. If the engine runs on diesel, then it will have a long life. The engine is a gas engine, not a diesel. Therefore, it will not have a long life. It is clear from these examples that a denied antecedent doesn't necessarily lead to a false consequence. It should be noted that if an argument takes the form of the fallacy of denying the antecedent, it is always invalid. Next, we have fallacy of affirming the consequence. Like the previous formal fallacy, this fallacy is structurally invalid, known as the fallacy of affirming the consequent. It takes the following form. If Sandy loses her job, then she will not be able to pay her rent. Sandy is not able to pay her rent. Therefore, she must have lost her job. In symbolic form, it is if A, then B. B, therefore A. As seen in the structure of the argument, the consequent of the first premise is affirmed in the second premise, leading to an affirmation of the antecedent in the conclusion. Sometimes this fallacy is known as reasoning in reverse. Consider these examples. If Barbara believes in karma, then she will act responsibly. Barbara acts responsibly. Therefore, Barbara must believe in karma. Example number 2. If John is a Humean, then he is an empiricist. John is an empiricist. Therefore, John is a Humean. Final example. If rent prices increase, then Kevin will be forced to move. Kevin was forced to move. Therefore, rent prices must have increased. Consider example 2. Even if the reader isn't familiar with the terms Humean or empiricist, the reader can be certain the argument is structurally invalid because it takes the form of affirming the consequent. Both the fallacy of denying the antecedent and the fallacy of affirming the consequent are invalid argument forms, which demonstrate how not to argue. One should avoid using these in argumentation Instead, formulating arguments in accordance with a valid form, such as the five structures discussed earlier in this chapter. All right. So technically that was the whole book, right? But now look, the smoke is fucking with the fucking anyway. So now in the appendix we have exercises. So we are to create an argument that commits the fallacies listed below. If necessary, provide the context for each of your examples. So we went over the false dilemma fallacy, the slippery slope, the argumentum ad baculum, the argumentum ad hominem abusive, reductionism, anthropomorphism, tu quoque, equivocation, argumentum ad populum, red herring, shifting the burden of proof, petitio principii, appeal to consequences, complex question, fallacy of composition, fallacy of division, false cause, argumentum ad verecundium, ignoratio elenchi, post hoc ergo propter hoc. So, if there were more people in here, I would like test you motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Because we got a part one, a part two, part three. And in each one, the instructions say in the following. They give a bunch of examples of sentences. They give some sentences that commit these fallacies. You are to point out what fallacy is being committed. And then there's an answer sheet in the back in case you've forgotten shit. But let's see. I'm gonna just throw one out there. So it says Christians say God is love. Love is an emotion. So God is simply an emotion. I almost feel like that's two fallacies, but I'm gonna just say it's the false equivocation. I'm gonna say it's equivocation. They're equivocating God with love, and therefore committing a fallacy. Anywho, that was the whole book. I'm not about to go through the examples and shit because there's no one here to participate in the examples. I could give y'all examples, you know what I'm saying? And you just have to point them out. Oh my. So that was the first appendix, but then there's like a second appendix where it covers Aristotle on the law of non-contradiction. It says Aristotle was the first philosopher in the classical world to write sustained works on logic. The importance of his work is monumental to the history of the Western intellectual tradition. He articulated in a clear and systematic manner the fundamental principles of logic, many of which are still used in science, mathematics, and philosophy today. For Aristotle, logic rests on and stems from the law of non-contradiction, which he in the selections below. By understanding this axiomatic principle, one can clearly see the starting point of logic and valid argumentation. While reading the following passages, should ask, what is demonstration? What is a contradiction? What is a contradictory statement? Protagoras stated that all opinions and arguments are equal. How does Aristotle respond to this claim? What makes some opinions and or arguments better than others? The subsequent excerpts are from Aristotle's Metaphysics, books 4 and 5. The translation used is by W.D. Ross. Italics have been added. It says, there are some who, as we said, both themselves assert that it is possible for the same thing to be and not to be, and say that people can judge this to be the case. And among others, many writers about nature use this language. But we have now posited that it is impossible for anything at the same time to be and not to be. And by this means have shown that this is the most indisputable of all principles. Some indeed demand that even this shall be demonstrated, but this they do through lack of education. For not to know of what things one should demand demonstration and of what one should not argues lack of education. For it is impossible that there should be demonstration of absolutely everything. But if there are things of which one should not demand demonstration, these persons cannot say what principle they maintain to be more self-evident than the present one. We can, however, demonstrate negatively, even that this view is impossible. If our opponent will only say something, and if he says it is absurd to seek to give an account of our views to one who cannot give an account of anything, insofar as he cannot do so. For such a man as such is from the start no better than a vegetable. Now, negative demonstration I distinguish from demonstration proper, because in a demonstration, one might be thought to be begging the question. But if another person is responsible for the assumption, we shall have negative proof, not demonstration. The starting point for all such arguments is not the demand that our opponent shall say that something either is or is not, but that he shall say something which is significant both for himself and for another, for this is necessary if he really is to say anything. For if he means nothing, such a man will not be capable of reasoning either with himself or with another. But if anyone grants this, demonstration will be possible, for we shall already have something definite. The person responsible for the proof, however, is not he who demonstrates, but he who listens. For while disowning reasons, he listens to reason. And again, he who admits this has admitted that something is true apart from demonstration. First, then, this at least is obviously true that the word be or not be has a definite meaning, so that not everything will be so and not so. Again, if man has one meaning, let this be two-footed animal. By having one meaning, I understand this. If man means X, then if A is a man, X will be what being a man means for him. It makes no difference, even if one were to say a word has several meanings. If only they are limited in number, for to each definition, there might be assigned a different word. For instance, we might say that man has not one meaning, but several, one of which would have one definition vis-a-vis two-footed animal, while there might be also several other definitions, if only they were limited in number. For a peculiar name might be assigned to each of the definitions. If, however, they were not limited, but one were to say that the word has an infinite number of meanings, obviously reasoning would be impossible. For not to have one meaning is to have no meaning. And if words have no meaning, our reasoning with one another and indeed ourselves has been annihilated. For it is impossible to think of anything if we don't think of one thing. But if this is possible, one name might be assigned to this thing. That is very complicated, but I think I get the gist of what he's saying. Like basically, in order to be means you have certain characteristics, and those characteristics distinguish you from something else. You know what I mean? You either like so to be this book means it is not a microphone, it is not a laptop, it is not a shoe, it's a book. You know what I mean? It has the identity of book. You know what I mean? So it can't both be a book and not be a book at the same time. Doesn't make any sense. Because if it were to make sense, then nothing makes sense. We wouldn't be able to reason with ourselves, let alone anyone else. Let it be assumed, then, as we said at the beginning, that the name has a meaning and has one meaning. It is impossible, then, that being a man should mean precisely not being a man, if man not only signifies something about one subject, but also has one significance, for we do not identify having one significance with signifying something about one subject, since on that assumption even musical and white and man would have had one significance, so that all things would have been one, so they would have all had the same significance. And it will not be possible to be and not to be the same thing, except in virtue of an ambiguity, just as if one whom we call man, others were to call not man. But the point in question is not this, but that the same thing can be said at the same time, can said at the same time be and not be a man in name, but whether it can in fact. Now, if man and not man mean nothing different, obviously not being a man will mean nothing different from being a man, so that being a man will be not being a man, for they will be one. For being one means this: being related as raiment and dress are, if their definition is one. And if being a man and being a not man are to be one, they must mean one thing. But if, as was shown earlier, that they mean different things. Therefore, if it is true to say of anything that it is a man, it must be a two-footed animal. And if this is necessary, it is impossible that the same thing should not at that time be a two-footed animal, for this is what being necessary means, that it is impossible for the thing not to be. It is then impossible that it should be at the same time true to say that the same thing is a man and is not a man. Then that's not the end, but we're fucking ending it there, dude. Like, I get what he's saying, but it's like difficult to like read through because it's in like back then language, you know. Besides, I want to smoke my blunt, son. Shit. Why can't you see anything with my face? Why is everything blurred? What's up, Susan? What's up, Boogie? What's up, Rafe? Dinner roll. Tim Max. Tim Max. Timma. Tim Max Timma. I don't fucking know, dude. This morning I was watching a rabbi discuss why Jesus wasn't the Messiah and why Christians and pretty much how Christians are just sort of making it up. But this rabbi was at least candid in that he admitted that there was no evidence for a lot of the supernatural shit and that he takes them as an article of faith, which is at least honest. You know what I mean? Like Christians who we trying to like still say, no, there's evidence for the resurrection. Like, get the fuck out of it. No, the fuck there isn't. Okay. No serious person would ever say that. But Christians will say that because they're not serious people. You know what I mean? But yeah, if they were honest with themselves and everyone else subsequently, they would admit that most of this shit they just take on faith. Like there's no evidence for this shit, you know. So, I was gonna try to stream this shit on like Discord, but I haven't figured out how to do that shit yet. Like I got Discord, I got the mic, I got a plug in, but like I don't have a way to like I don't know how to do it because I'm fucking old, I guess. Why everything blurry but your pretty face? Ah! I don't know how to like not blur it. I just went to the thing and I was like unblur, and it was like all right, and it still looked like it was blurry. Oh, let me try something else. Hold on. Oh wait, that's for overlays. Like that's not this. You don't have access to this feature. I don't know what this feature is. You know what I mean? Pop out dashboard. Okay. I don't that's not what I wanted. Close that. Yeah, I don't know how to like take the thing off. Let me change the lighting a little bit, you know what I mean? I see your blunt. Raise you a cone. What's up? Look at the trees. That's what my mug says. I have a mug that says "Look at the trees," which I can't show you. Wait, oh maybe I right here. There it go. Look at the trees. This was a Matt Dillahunty design mug when they were having like a fundraiser at the line over on the line. I don't know, maybe like a year or two ago, some shit. Like here go the line logo. So you know what I'm saying. Let me put it over here in the non-blurry part. So there's that. But now I got my own motherfucking mugs. So buy my mugs. Besides, my mugs are cheaper, just meaning in price, not in quality. And they're better. Not in quality, but just in design. At least I'm keeping it real. Shit. He get his mugs from the same place I get mine. Goddamn it. It's just mine are dope because mine say Christian Deers and other things. I mean, so look, I was gonna do a song today, like a lip sync. I was gonna do what's it called? Prisoner 666 by Whitechapel. But I don't know, I kind of changed my mind because I think the lyrics are kind of corny to be honest. But his delivery is pretty awesome, you know. Like Whitechapel, like they all right. They're not like in my top 10 or nothing, but like I fuck with Whitechapel. They got some pretty decent songs I like. But that Prisoner of Flesh or Prison of Flesh by Lorna Shore, Jesus fucking Christ. That shit goes so hard. I seen a lot of people when I was watching the Nick Nocturnal Awards. I saw a lot of people didn't like um in the comments at least, they were saying that they didn't like Larcenia Rowe. I fuck with Larcenia Rowe. I don't give a fuck. Like people's opinions don't sway me one way or the other when it comes to media that I like. You know what I mean? Like I don't care if everyone hates it. If I like it, that's all that fucking matters. You know what I mean? So, and I think Larcenia Rowe is dope. I'd play some of their music for you, but I ain't trying to get clapped. You know what I'm saying? I gotta get a mug. Yeah, you do, Rafe. You know what I mean? I might create a yeah, I might actually do that. I don't know why I didn't. I might create a discount code so you can get it for cheaper. You know what I mean? I'm only gonna give it to people that watch this stream. How about that? Get you a mug. Cause see how it works is whatever discount I give you, I have to pay the difference. You know what I'm saying? Which is fine. But at the same time, I ain't fucking rich. So I can't do it like that. But I'll do it for a few people. You know. Get you a Dade Murphy mug. You know what I'm saying? But then if I do that, then you have to post in my community tab. You know what I'm saying? You gotta post a picture of you holding it. Or not holding it. You can just have a picture. If you camera shy, you can take a picture of the mug, you know what I'm saying, like on your table or some shit. That way I know, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, okay. Cause I don't be knowing like when I see the names and when like people place orders, I just see like their real name. Like I ain't gonna see like whatever they go by on YouTube. So I won't know who the fuck this is. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. I be having to do this, like plug my shit, because I can't do it online. Like I can't do it on my YouTube channel because I'm not allowed to get monetized. They got it in for you, boy. They like, nah, we can't advertise off of you because you're too vulgar. You're too vulgar and you won't stop being vulgar and like obscene and you're not advertiser friendly. So, you know what I mean? Which is fine. But then that means like I don't have any way to like make any money off none of this shit. Which is fine. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get into this to make money. I mean, it was like if the opportunity was there, then I'll take it. But if that meant I had to compromise my creativity or my personality, well, then I'm not doing it. Y'all can keep it. You know what I'm saying? And the only reason why I even made merch in the first place was because motherfuckers was like, yo, do you got merch? I would love some merch. So I was like, well, fuck it. So I made the merch just so motherfuckers just have it. That's why I made the shirts so cheap. Like, that's why they're all like $20. Like, it doesn't matter how much design I put into it, $20. You know what I'm saying? Unless like there's so much design that like the people who actually have to construct the shirt and shit, it's like they're not getting compensated accurately or you know adequately. So and therefore it'll say I'll make negative money. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh damn, it's cool if I don't make any, but damn, I gotta make negative money. Like I owe you and shit. Like, oh no, I ain't trying to do that. So I make it as low as I can. You know what I'm saying? Within reason. because I don't need much of a profit, because all I had to do was just come up with a design and submit the design. You know what I'm saying? And then fourth wall makes the design. So like all the shirts I got, like, so I only wear my shirts now. Fuck that shit. All shirts I wear are my shit. They got my name in the tag or on the sleeve or both, you know. So every Dave Murphy shirt has Dave Murphy on it somewhere. That way, that way you know it's man's and not just somebody else's shit. You know, I mean, I guess somebody else could do it. Like none of my shit is copyrighted or nothing. So whatever. Again, didn't get into this to make money. I got really into this to like sort of, at first it was to entertain, and then it sort of like, as I got more educated, I felt like I started to need to like educate. You know what I'm saying? I had to start like getting some of these ideas out there. And by ideas, I mean trying to get the idea that capitalism is not your friend. And it is the reason why your life sucks financially. And it's not anyone else. But part of the reason why a lot of people think the way they do with regards to America and the way, and and our economic structure, and don't feel the need to challenge it at all, is because of the way they've been taught to think, which is to not think, to just accept, whatever the authority figure tells you, and it starts with religion. Like, you're not told from birth that you're a Democrat or a Republican, but you are told whether or not you're a Christian or a Muslim or some shit, before you even understand the implications of what that means. So you're already starting off in the world having to identify with one of these bullshit made up fucking fairy tales. And then because you're not allowed to question the doctrine, there's very small parameters in which you're allowed to question. But outside those parameters, absolutely not. You know what I mean? So that keeps you in there. And if you're if you've been indoctrinated to just accept a narrative from the authority figures who tell you that they have the better or correct understanding of the narrative and that you should just listen to them, you know what I mean? And that whatever thoughts you have concerning the narrative, you need to somehow uh, find a way to make those thoughts amenable to the doctrine. Okay. Because any threat to the doctrine, any threat to the dogma is and when by threat I mean anything that challenges it is considered heretical. You know what I mean? You are to stay away from that. It is sinful. And typically, the way one would even start to question shit is as they start to gain more knowledge about the world. And then that will start to raise more questions. And that's why they don't want you to know shit. That's why they try to make it seem like, oh, going to college is bad. They're burning books. That's why it's like that's the go-to. You know what I'm saying? To burn books. It's like they're so afraid you're gonna read shit. I don't even know why they even make an attempt to burn books nowadays. Motherfuckers don't fucking read. You know what I mean? And if they do, it's bullshit. They're not out here reading nonfiction. You know what I'm saying? So there's not enough people reading nonfiction. So since you can't be bothered to read, why even burn the books? Just leave them there. Nobody gonna read them. You know what I'm saying? But anywho, but they can't even take that chance. So they rather just burn the shit just in case. But yeah, so if you start thinking like that, then you'll start to think like that about the politics. So now you have these political leaders who, you know, authority figures in your community have told you that these political figures are the ones that you need to listen to, because their message, they're espousing the rhetoric that aligns with our values, so on and so forth. And you're not to question any of that. You're not to question, why do I have to listen to this particular person? Or why am I aligning myself with this particular party? Are there other parties? Why are you demonizing this particular political ideology? What's wrong with that ideology? And then look into it. See why they demonize what they demonize. Who stands to benefit from you accepting their framing of whatever the narrative is? Who stands to benefit from that? Because it ain't fucking you. You know what I'm saying? It ain't fucking you. So you always have to do that. It just doesn't matter what the authority is. Sometimes the authority is legitimate, but I feel the authority is illegitimate and should be questioned. And we can start with the biblical God. You know what I mean? His authority is illegitimate. How so? Because you can't have authority if you don't fucking exist. Things that don't exist aren't granted authority over shit. How about you have some authority over existing first, motherfucker, before you start to try and have dominion over that which does exist? You know what I mean? Because we who exist got our own problems. But too many of us are concerned, we're willing to just jettison real world problems, you know, in order to focus on made up bullshit 2,000-year-old fucking fairy tale problems. And then wonder why do you always have, why can't you just leave Christianity alone? Because Christianity is cooking fucking America. It's cooked your fucking ass. Like, you can't fucking think. You don't know how to think. You've only been taught what to think. You know what I mean? Jesus. And I just so fucking stupid. Like, you ain't seen not a damn miracle in your motherfucking life. You might have seen anomalies. You might have seen shit that was like, oh, odds were against it. But that don't mean fucking shit. Game theory, motherfucker. With enough time, most of that which we consider impossible will become inevitable. You know what I mean? Obviously not with everything, but with most things, given enough time, that which is seems impossible will become inevitable and probably ubiquitous. I'm just saying. Don't get me ranting. Rafe is in this motherfucker. He is making his presence felt up in his bitch. I'm just saying, man. Boogie baby. Another insidious part is that children have no choice but to somehow accept their primary caregiver's worldview, at least to share reality. Indoctrination is abuse. I'm not 100% against the concept of indoctrination. You know what I mean? Because not all indoctrination is bad, just like not all propaganda is bad. It's not inherently so. You know what I mean? It's just the propaganda we seem to, well, yeah, fuck it. The propaganda that seems to be quite ubiquitous in the United States and in the Western world generally. Not to mention the indoctrination to be faced with ubiquitously also seems to all be negative. Like, it's you know what I mean? Like, there's no good propaganda. There's no good indoctrination going on. It's all negative, unfortunately, which is why I can see how it becomes so easy to, associate indoctrination or propaganda with negativity, even though it's not inherently the case. But I get where you're coming from, Boogie B. I agree. Like, why are we indoctrinating children to believe nonsense? But more importantly, why are we teaching them to accept wild propositions without any evidence? Or at least not the kind of evidence that would warrant accepting such a wild ass fucking claim. You know what I mean? It's insane. That's not fair. That is abuse. That is child abuse, in my opinion. Yeah, I could see that. I could see forced indoctrination being abusive, but like, I'm not sure. Because I'm thinking, like, when you join the military, you go through a sort of indoctrination, a forced indoctrination. You could say it's forced, but at the same time, it's like, well, you did sign up willingly. So there's that. But it's like they're at the same time they're trying to Their purpose is to break down you, who you are, so that they can rebuild you, build you up in their image. They need you to disabuse you. They need to disabuse you of this individuality so that you can acquiesce as to another indistinguishable component of the group. You know what I'm saying? So that the group can operate essentially as one unit. And in order to do that, which is difficult, I would say, because in America, the whole thing, the whole fucking dogma is all about fucking individuality. You do it, you individual. Even though they still, even that completely contradicts this whole I, and there's no I in team and all that bullshit. But whatever. So like now, so then you go in the military and they have to like completely break down this whole individual concept that you may be holding on to in order to get you to just see yourself as just another insignificant member of the whole, you know, in order to better control you and get you to do as they need you to do so that you'll be willing to die and kill that motherfucker who is of no threat to you generally. But because you put yourself in this position, now he is. And you have to be ready to kill because maybe not everyone's a killer. Fortunately, I didn't have to kill anyone while I was in the military. I don't know that I'd be able to live with myself, given that, you know, I've had what you may call an awakening, where I've come to realize that, you know, there's no reason for me to be killing people in other countries who are just defending themselves against an aggressor. And we are that aggressor in most cases. So why would I be killing people who are just defending their country against us when we're the bad guys? No one's ever trying to invade the United States, like ever. You know what I'm saying? But we're constantly invading other motherfuckers' countries. So I can see why they would defend against us because our machinations are not wholesome. We only intend uh to engage. We only interact with your country just for our own profit. Like we're not here to help you, save you, spread democracy, liberate, none of that. Like you got something we need or want, and we're coming to take that. You know what I mean? And make sure that you don't fuck with it at all. Like you leave it alone. I know it's in your country and all that, but like don't touch my things. I no, that's mine. Dibs. You know what I mean? So anywho, Christian Duarte, what's up, son? If people can agree with each other, there wouldn't be multiple countries. I mean, yeah, but you don't want like a homogenous planet of people. You know what I mean? Like where everyone is the same culture, speaks the same language. That would be boring. I'm glad we have people that are just different. You know what I mean? Which just complete way of life is different from what we know in the West. You know, and even us in the West still have different views of the world. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, I'm glad it's the way it is. That it's insofar as it's diverse. There's many cultures to experience. You know, I think that's amazing. I think that's beautiful. Now, it's only because of like stupid ass shit that we end up killing each other. It's either over made up shit like gods and carrying on, or other constructs such as fucking capital or profit and fucking like all it's just made up shit, bro. Like you don't need capital or profit to fucking exist and to thrive in society. Like I just don't like what we have, man. I hate what we did to the world, dog. I hate what we did to the world. I hate what the world's become. I hate the way the world's always been. Just so much bloodshed. Like the earth. is soaked, saturated, sopping in blood from just so many centuries of bloodshed. And that's not just from humans. Like humans alone was way just soaking in blood in the United States alone or in other countries. And then once you get past humans, then animals, just look at the animals, there's so much bloodshed, just killing each other, in order to survive. But nonetheless, there's just so much death and destruction in living creatures that depend on the death of other living creatures in order to survive, with the exception of plants that photosynthesize, you know. You would think a loving God would just make us photosynthesize as well. Like we wouldn't have to depend on the death. Like we wouldn't have to kill vegetables. We wouldn't have to kill animals. Well, we could just get all our energy from the sun. You know what I'm saying? Like, why couldn't we just be created that way? It just don't make no sense to say that everything was created for humans. Like we can't exist literally anywhere else other than this planet. Like, what the fuck? That should tell you something. You know what I mean? Like, clearly we're just something that grew on this planet, that evolved from the things that existed on this planet, and given enough time, and by that I mean billions of years. Billions of years. Given billions of years, eventually something like us was able to evolve. You know what I mean? One planet. So it's like, if we're so fucking special, why can't we exist somewhere else then? I should just be able to breathe underwater, no problem. You know what I'm saying? Even if the earth was just made for humans, like here, it's just for you, then I should be able to just eat any plant. No plant should be poisonous to me. I'm a human. All this vegetation is for me. All the fruits and fungus and everything, nothing should hurt me. You know what I mean? I should be able to just breathe underwater, no matter how deep we go. No matter how many atmospheres of pressure are upon me, given how deep I go in the ocean, shouldn't matter. You know what I mean? I shouldn't matter at all. I shouldn't feel any loss of breath. The higher up I go, you know what I'm saying, into the mountains and shit. Nope, shouldn't be any of that. I should be able to go into the North fucking pole. I should be able to go to Antarctica and just be there, butt ass naked, and just survive off of fucking whatever's there in fucking Antarctica. You know what I mean? Because the whole earth, the whole planet was made for me. I'm a human. You know what I mean? But none of that is true. So it's like, either no, the fuck it wasn't made for us, and no, the fuck we weren't made for it. We're just one of those few things that could survive given certain conditions. Because you put us somewhere else, like Neil deGrasse Tyson said, like, I could just take you butt ass naked and drop you any random place on earth, and 99% of the time you'll be dead in minutes. You know what I'm saying? Something would have eaten you, you know what I'm saying? Or you would have drowned, or you would have just, you know what I'm saying, or fallen off a cliff, like some shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, because you're just not without a whole lot of science and engineering and technology in order to make it possible for you to exist in some climate that's not habitable for you, amenable to your existence. But clearly, like I said, that's not the case. So why would you think this earth was made for us? Like, if that were the case, why weren't we the first things here? You know what I'm saying? Why did it take billions of years for us to finally show up? Why did the dinosaurs come before us? Like, if you think about it, we haven't even been here on Earth as long as the dinosaurs were on Earth. You know what I'm saying? The dinosaurs are here for seemingly forever, and we've only been here like this long. You know what I'm saying? In comparison, it's like, so even if other species, other aliens and shit were to come to the planet Earth like millions of years ago, they would have been like, man, that's just a planet of lizards, dog. It's just big fucking lizards everywhere, flying, swimming, just crawling, eating trees, eating other lizards. They're just big as fuck. We're going to another planet, They would have thought that. They would have had to come back millions and millions and millions of years later and be like, oh, it's all the lizards are gone. It's just a bunch of these small, fleshy, fucking looking weirdos, you know. So, but they have some pretty cool fucking toys or something. Like, so I don't know. Like, it's just, why couldn't we have been here first then? Like, if it was here for us, why did the dinosaurs get to be here forever? It took like something from outer space to take them motherfuckers out so that we could. It's not even like we evolved and then it's like mankind killed all the dinosaurs and then we won out. You know what I mean? Like, nah, it's just like it took something from the motherfucking heavens to destroy the fucking dinosaurs just so we could have a chance. Just so fucking mammals could evolve enough to the point where we showed up, you know. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, man. I only went live on one to finish that book, but I thought that I thought there was more pages left than that, so I kind of got finished. I got finished quicker than I than I otherwise would have been had I had as many pages left that I initially assumed. But also, I didn't really have shit to respond to in the comments that was worthy of like a whole short. You know what I mean? So I was like, fuck it, but I'll just go live, bruh. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I went live on Christmas at all. But because I don't fuck with Christmas. You know what I'm saying? Like at all. Fuck Christmas. So because I ain't with all this consumerism, bruh. I've been over it. Like, I'm tired. Like, no. I'm not. No, I don't care who has what. I'm not interested. If I don't need it or want it already, then you have it. No bearing on whether or not I want it. Well, the way things are, fine. I don't need like most of the newest technology. I don't even fuck with because I'm like I never needed it. I didn't need an automatic vacuumer like the little Roomba. I don't need that. I'm fine pushing a vacuum. Just give me a good vacuum. I'll do it myself. Like, I don't mind. Dishwasher. I don't need a dishwasher. I can wash dishes. I enjoy it to some degree. You know what I'm saying? So I never use a dishwasher. I never used a Roomba. I don't have like an automatic cat poop dispenser or whatever the fuck, you know. I really want to compost their shit for real, just to be more earth conscious or whatever. But I ain't got there yet because I understand that my one individual, even if I was like my carbon footprint was like damn near zero, which isn't possible, but assuming it were, it wouldn't fucking matter. Like, even if all of us, every single fucking one of us, did our absolute best at reducing our individual carbon footprints, wouldn't make a shit spit of difference because we aren't the major contributors to climate change. It's the corporations, it's the companies. You know what I mean? They contribute 70%. At least at the time I saw the latest research was like 70% comes from the corporations and companies and all that other shit. And like data centers and like Bitcoin processing centers, that shit eats up way more energy, just contributing exponentially to the rise of greenhouse gases and therefore climate change. But 70%, that means, so assuming 70%, which means 30% comes from everything else, farting cows, you and me, cars, you know, whatever the fuck else, you know, that's the other 30%. So even if the other 30% completely cut it out, there's still 70% of the problem existing. That's why I'm like, it doesn't fucking matter how much you recycle. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter if you recycle at all, you know, because it's not doing anything. If anything, you're just trying to look like a decent person. And I guess it's fine not to like contribute more to the problem, but just know that your effort is infinitesimal. Okay, infinitesimal, meaning it's not even noticeable. It's a blip that doesn't even register, you know, because you're one person and it's just not enough, you know, because the problem is so systemic, it's so worldwide, and just you personally doing all the right things ain't gonna do shit. Now I don't litter because I just don't want to look at trash everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't like that look, and I don't want to live in a neighborhood where there's trash everywhere. So I won't contribute to the trash. And if it's pretty bad, then I'll just go out and get it myself. But I also have a neighbor like that. Like he's pretty good about going and picking up trash if it just happens to be in the street. So we live in a pretty nice, decent area, I guess. I'm not trying to brag. I don't fucking care. Fuck this area. I don't even like the people that live here. All of them. Fuck them all. Because most of them are fucking Trump supporters and fuck Trump. But anyway, like it's just about I don't want to live in what looks like filth. So I'll take the appropriate steps to not only clean up the filth, but also not contribute to the filth. Now I get my one doing that isn't gonna fix the problem, you know, and that's fine. And I get that what I'm doing doesn't help the community. It just makes me feel better. You know what I mean? Like, and that's but I at least understand that, you know, and at least I'm not making things worse, you know. So that's my takeaway. It's like I feel better about it, and I'm not making things worse, you know. So, but that said, that just means we gotta really like get on these motherfuckers who are contributing 70% of the problem, you know. So there's that. I gotta find some content to make, man. Mostly because I just want to. It said out of the three channels I watched the most in 2025, number one was Deconstruction Zone with Justin and Doug. Hail Doug, by the way. And then the second channel I watched the most was my own. Ain't that a bitch? Like I was like, wow, I watch myself that much. I guess I do. And then the third channel I watched, and the channel I watched the third most was Papa Meat, which was also surprising. But I was glad to know that the number one channel I watched the most was Deconstruction Zone because it's an atheist channel that debates Christians. So I was glad to see that that was my number one. I was like, I did watch that a lot. You know what I'm saying? Mostly because I was looking for clips to like lip sync over and shit. And there was one particular lip sync, or that well, yeah, it's a lip sync I've been wanting to do over Deconstruction Zone, where in the conversation he's having with this Christian, and I said Christian, so there you go. He says he tells him to tell him he tells the caller to tell me I'm pretty. I just lost it when he said that because he was saying something like he doesn't choose to be gay or something like that or gay is a choice. I can't remember what the dude was trying to say, but I think it was basically like yeah, that's what it was. It was like the caller was trying to say something to the effect of like being gay is a choice, and Justin was trying to make the point that well, if that's the case, you could just choose to be gay then right now. So just tell me I'm pretty. You know what I'm saying? Like some shit like that. I was just like, hell nah. And I cannot find that clip. Like, it's not clipped out. So it's not like one of his shorts or some shit, but like it's in one of his older live streams. And I can't remember from when, it wasn't from this year. It was probably from like last year or the year before. Well, it was probably just from last year, 2024. But I don't remember I couldn't find it. I was looking for it like a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, where was that at? Because I want to clip that so bad. But yeah. So I just thought that was funny. And it was like, this is the channel you watch the most in 2025. I just didn't feel like I did. I'm like, I felt like I watched like other shit. I don't know. I guess I did. I don't know what point, you know what I'm saying? Like from when to when, what month to what month, you know. I don't know. I gotta make some content, y'all, man. You said I remember that caller said it was a choice. You remember that? Hey, you remember that? I know, man. Deconstruction Zone's channel is kind of funny. I don't like. Well, never mind. I don't feel like mentioning that, but yeah, I do. I do like Deconstruction Zone. Many people have a purely anthropocentric worldview. Oh, for sure. Like, just to get back on that topic, fuck yeah, they do. So, like, what book should I read next, man? I'm sorry I read this one so fast, but it's not that many pages. It's not even 100 pages. Before you get to the appendix, there are 75 pages. See, it's not that big a book. Informal logical. There we go. So yeah, so I want to do a song. I'm in the mood to do a song. I just don't know early, so I was like I told you I was thinking about doing that Whitechapel song, but it's kind of early, bro. Like I'm not a young whippersnapper anymore. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to be headbanging right now. You know what I'm saying? So I was trying to find something else. And Christmas is over, so I'm not trying to do any more Christmas shit. Um, yeah, I mean, I could look for more Christians talking about fucking praying or some shit and then just do what I do. But there's a dime a dozen. Like there's so many of those videos. Oh, I had one video. I had posted it, but then I deleted it like not long after I posted it. Because I shitted on this dude because he was saying something about the blood of Jesus and he wants to wash you with it or some shit. And I was just like, does the blood of Jesus contain salicylic acid or retinoids or something like that? Because if so, you should put some of that blood of Jesus on your face because he had like really bad acne. And I felt like that was bullying for like no reason. So I just deleted the video after that. Like I said, it wasn't even up like 5 minutes. And I was like, nah, fuck that, man. I don't feel comfortable with it being up. So I deleted it. But he was praying. Like he was praying in the video. And that was the reason I wanted to even like shit on him in the first place. And then didn't even shit on him for praying, like just shitted on his looks. And I'm like, why would you do that? Like, that's not nice. And he was a kid. You could tell he was a kid, like 16, 17, 18, something like that. So I was like, nah, that's fucked up. So I deleted it. So hopefully he didn't see it, but I'm sure he didn't see it, you know. But if he did, fuck it. That was hilarious. Yeah, it's cold as fuck outside, Boogie Tron. To fix your face with the Jesus blood. You already know, bruh. Like, let me put that blood of Jesus on your face. See if it heal your shit. That shit on your face got some shit on it. You know what I'm saying? My coffee ain't even fucking cold or warm no more. It's fucking cold. So yeah, man, I don't know what book to read next. I'm so tired of reading these books. Like I've read them multiple times. Like that's why I want to like get a new book. I got one book that's like I just refuse to read it another time. It's called Myth of a Christian Nation. It's a good book. Like I think I've read it twice, but it's like there are no Christians who are like how he described Jesus and how he says that true followers of Jesus should be. And I was like, there is not one Christian that lives the way he was describing. I'm like, oh, not a one, not one, not in America. Fuck out of here. That's why I'm like, why do we equate goodness with Christianity? I don't. I equate all that is shitty with Christianity. If you are a liar, you come off like a Christian. If you are hypocritical, to me, you come off like a Christian. If you are bigoted or racist, you come off like a Christian. Like that's what I associate with Christianity: bigotry, xenophobia, hate, division, sanctimony, hypocrisy, you know what I mean? Like ignorance, stupidity. That's what I associate with Christianity. So it's weird when people say when someone's like acting uncharacteristically of a good person that they'll say, oh, that's not how a Christian should act or whatever. And it's like, why isn't it? I don't know a single Christian who isn't all of those things, who isn't a lying sack of shit. You either perpetually lie to yourself or you're lying to me. Either way, you're a lying sack of shit. Go read a book with your stupid ass. That's just how I feel about it. Oh yeah, that was the first time I came across that lady's video with all that food. That was the first time I seen it. I was like, I didn't even know what the hell I was looking at. Like, why? How did this happen? Like, how are you in a car in the driver's seat, no less, or passenger seat? Don't fucking matter. And that much food, like just like out, not in boxes, but just like you know what I'm saying, ready to go. I'm like, who? How did you do this? Like what the fuck? So that's what really had me shocked. I was like, and it's just you, like, because it's in the car and all the food is exposed, you know. And it's like I'll feel weird to like come to your car, like, it's all right if I have a piece of that, knowing she just been talking and breathing all over it and what? So clearly this just for you know. What the hell? Maybe she's a competitive eater. This is how she practices. In which case, all right, that makes sense. But still, how did you get it all in the car? Why couldn't you shoot this in the house? Like, what? Like, this is a lot to have in the car. Yeah, you know, give your shit to the poor. Nah, son, that shit was expensive. Most Christians, maybe, right? You remember that when Jesus did that shit? And Jesus was like, don't you could give the money to the poor anytime. The poor are always gonna be here. He's like, I'm not gonna be here that long, so it's all good. Go ahead and pour that expensive oil on me, you know. Because Jesus, and that's what I associate with Jesus and Christians, It's like, yeah, fuck the poor. It's all about me, you know. So yeah, that's what I associate with Christianity, all the wrong things. And I wish we would all do the same. Stop associating goodness and kindness and charity with being a Christian. That is like you can do those things as a Christian. I just don't associate those things with your ideology. You know. That I still watch and cry laughing, but people do that, making mukbang videos. Oh yeah, I mean, I'll be watching Beard Meets Food, you know what I'm saying? He's like really the only one I watch. I mean, I used to watch, and I still will probably watch him, Ben Dean. I like Ben Dean, but I don't know why I hadn't watched his videos in a while. I really don't. I don't know why I haven't watched his videos in a while. But I like Ben Dean. But I've mostly been watching Beard Meets Food. Just hoping one day I run into his ass, knowing that'll never happen. But yeah. So he's like the only one who like eats food and like that's his whole channel that I watch. Ben Dean. Little Asian dude. He cool though. I like him. I'm gonna have to start watching this shit. And Babish. I almost forgot about Babish. Culinary, whatever the fuck. But he's not really, he more like just somebody who just ranks shit, you know what I'm saying? Like tier list stuff. I bought every Pop Tart. I tried every ramen noodle, you know what I mean? Like I tried every popcorn. So like I'll watch his and he like and on his he bought every waffle that you could buy, like every frozen waffle. Or like no, and then like all the Eggo waffle. I think he bought like all the Eggo waffles and shit. And like some of his opinions I agree with, and others it was like, all right, if you say, I've never tried it, so now since you give it such high regards, such high remarks, I'll give it a shot because I've been wanting to try it anyway, and you're a culinary dude, so I'll give it a shot. That's not the same as like what I said earlier when I said I don't give a fuck if you're into it because he's not like a trendsetter. He's not trying to set a trend. He's just giving his opinion on something, and he's an expert in the field. So I will take his opinion, and then you know what I'm saying. So I tried it, and I was pleased, like because he basically put like baldak. I think that's what it's called, like baldak ramen noodles, spicy noodles at the top of the list. Like of all the ones he tried a lot. He put those at the top of the list. So I had never tried baldak ramen noodles. They're a little more expensive than typical like top ramen or whatever. So like I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll try it because he said it was good. And I've been pleased. Like their carbonara one is really good. Their regular one is good because I mean they're all spicy, for the most part, with the exception of that carbonara one. That's not really spicy, but all the rest are. And so like yeah, I was like, okay, that was a win. That was a win. He said that was good, and I was pleased. Like yeah, that was nice. That was nice. It's a thicker ramen noodle, you know, and the sauce is a liquid sauce that you put on it that you mix it in instead of like a powder. But the carbonara one, I think it's a little bit of both. I think you get like a powder and like a liquid. I can't remember. Oh, I knew what I was gonna do. Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. I know it has nothing to do with my channel, but I just thought y'all be surprised if you knew I could do it. So I was gonna make a video. I was gonna make a short. I was gonna make a short juggling because I can juggle. You know what I mean? I don't know if you find that surprising, but I can juggle. I'm not great, but I can do it. You know what I mean? I'm like three. I can't do more than three. That's why I've said like I'm not great. I can juggle two in one hand and transition to three, and then back to two in a different hand. That type of I can bounce it off of a wall, that type of shit. But basically, the three ball cascade, I can do that. You know what I'm saying? So I was gonna make a short of me doing that, and then but I want to time it to like a rock song, to like a metal song. It just can't be like I don't know. It has to be no, it can't be metal. Like it'd have to be rock. Like even if it was like fucking what do you call it? Punk. Like if it was like in the punk style or thrash, even depending. Because there's like some songs by like Municipal Waste or Iron Reagan that I think would go with like there's like some of the songs like for like one of my favorite songs, right? By like Iron Reagan slash Municipal Waste, but Iron Reagan is Miserable Failure. I just fucking love that song, dude. But I feel like I could juggle to that tempo. I mean, there's others too, but yeah, so I'll probably do that. I'll probably make a short of me juggling. I got some balls in here. If not, I mean, I could use my socks. I still roll my socks the way I was taught in the military. After all these years, I still roll my socks that way. Nothing else. I don't roll my shirts that way anymore. I don't roll my underwear that way because I don't wear those underwear anymore. Because in the army, you like in basic training, you could only wear, the dun-dun-duns. You know what I'm saying? The skivvies. You know what I mean? The brown skivvies. That's all you was allowed to wear in basic. Now, like once you got to like out of basic training, then you could just wear whatever. But in basic, you had to wear those motherfucking skivvies, son. And so there was a way to fold those, but they didn't show me. I don't think it translates. Like it doesn't work with like boxers, and it definitely and it might translate to boxer briefs, which is what I wear, but I've never tried it, so I don't know because I don't even remember how to fucking do it. To be honest, I mean it's not like I couldn't watch a YouTube video to show me how to fold the fucking underwear, but It's not that serious. But the socks, I've once I learned how to do that, I've never not done it. I've always rolled my socks. It's just such a good way to keep the socks together and keep everything looking uniform, and it takes up very little space. I don't know. I prefer to do it that way. But anyway, yes, I'm gonna make a video of me juggling. He said grunge. Like what? Like 9 Inch Nails or some shit. I believe I can see the future. Ding, 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 ding. I repeat the same routine. I clearly can't sing. Shut the fuck up. We'll call those dun dun. That's right. That's what we call them, dun dun. You know what I mean? Dun dun. I'm like one of the few people that call him that up here in Dayton, Ohio, bro. Because I got it from a chick in Houston, Texas, when I was in the military. She called him dun dun dun. And I was like, what the fuck is a dun dun dun? And she was like, dun dun dun. I'm like, oh shit, that just made me fucking crack up. But I was like, that's what you call fucking men's tidy whities and shit, dun dun dun. I'm like, hell no. So ever since, that's what I've been calling them. See how language just like, you know what I mean? Like that's some shit from the South that just got transmuted to the fucking Midwest just because of our interaction through the military. Hell, that was how I found out about like screw. 'Cause I never even heard screw or even heard that term outside of like fucking, you know what I mean? But yeah, I remember I was at an airport in Atlanta, and this dude, his name was Curvin Major. I'll never forget that because I just thought, like, what kind of name is Curvin? It's Kevin with an R. Curvin. Curvin Major. And he had a mouthful of golds. And I was like, how are you in the army with gold teeth? Like, they allow that? But yeah, there's no prohibition against it. At least at the time, there wasn't. Like, probably because they never foresaw people having gold all in their teeth, but whatever. So, yeah, so in the military, at least at the time in the army, you could have gold teeth. Who knew? But yeah, so one day he was my roommate, and one day he was playing some music, and I told him like, "Hey man, your tape skipping or some shit. Like I think your batteries died or something." Like, and he was like, "No, that's screw, man." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "That's screw. You ain't heard screw, man, screw." And I'm like, what? Like I never heard that shit before. He was saying it's screw, which is a type of a style of music that was developed by a DJ that went by the name DJ Screw, you know, from Houston, Texas. And he popularized pretty much slowing down music. You know what I mean? And then like chop is what they call it, like where he sort of like makes it sound like it's skipping, but it's not. Like that's I don't know how to describe it. They call it chopped and screwed. And screwing is when they slow it down, and chopping it is like when they sort of repeat something that they already said, but like twice, you know, like I'm going to the stove, some shit like that. When in the regular version, the regular speed version, I'm going to the stove. But in the fucking chopped and screw version, like I'm going to the stove, some shit like that. And it was just like, and I thought it was like your batteries are dying because your song's playing at a very low, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was the first time I've heard of that. And I don't know that I would have ever heard it again had I never had that interaction with him. Because since then, like I had uh never heard anyone playing screw outside of like me playing it. You know what I'm saying? And some people who didn't hate it immediately got it because they were like they were probably from the South or from Texas, so they were like familiar with the sound. But like here I am in Dayton, fucking Ohio, bumping screw. and motherfuckers not knowing what the fuck I'm playing and thinking the same thing I was thinking when I first heard it. Like, man, there's something wrong with your CD player or something. Like that shit. But then, like, because I had so much exposure to it, because that's all the fuck she played. Like, she used to love Lil Flip, uh, Lil Kiki, uh, Chameleonaire, Paul Wall, yeah, she had a lot of DJ Screws original shit. Um, you know, just I mean, so many. Like, what's his name? Lil Slim Thug. Like she liked a lot of these guys. Um, Mike Jones, and because of her playing so much of their shit, and like the beats was dope, and just like I don't know, I started like really liking it, and so next thing you know, I'm like on LimeWire trying to download that shit. You know what I'm saying? And then playing that shit when I come back to Ohio, letting my brother and them hear it and shit. Like this shit slaps, son. You know. I still play Screw every now and then. Like I got some of like the old what they call them, like the Swisher House freestyles, like from back in the day, before the Kappa. That's what they called it, like before the Kappa, you know. So like that's some pretty legendary shit, some throwback shit from the early 2000s, and actually early 2000s and late 90s, you know. Yeah, you gotta listen to it, man. Like if I could like share my screen right now, I'll play some of that shit so you can hear it. It's slowed down and looped. He said, bro, thought his battery was dying. That's tough. I was like, right. I didn't know what to make of it. I was like, wait a minute, how can that be? Like, because I attributed the problem to something that was indicative of like tape players. But he was playing a CD. So I'm like, wait a minute, how that couldn't be the problem. Like, so it must be like your batteries are dying. So I'm like, I didn't understand what was happening, you know. It was so foreign to me, obviously, because it was new and I didn't like it, you know. But like I said, after hearing so much of it, because I was exposed to so much of it, given that so many of my roommates when I was in the military were all from the South, you know what I'm saying? And so many of them was playing that shit. And I'm just like, this is a big thing to you motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Like, god damn, like everybody I meet from Texas is playing this shit, you know. Um, so yeah, so I mean I listened to it like a lot. My favorite to this day, if you want a good example of what I'm talking about, you should go on you because it's on YouTube. And it's my favorite, like mostly because of the nostalgia that's attached to it. Like when I play this album, not only is it like dope on its own, the lyricism is just peak, you know what I mean? But aside from that, and just like the beats, like the whole album is fucking sick. But it's called it's by Paul Wall and Chameleonaire. You know what I mean? Paul Paul Wall Wall and Chameleonaire. And the album is called Get Your Mind Correct. But when you search for the album in YouTube, you have to put in Get Your Mind Correct, chopped and screwed version. You know what I'm saying? Because that version is dope. The original speed version is just okay. You know what I mean? But that chopped and screwed version is where it's at, bro. Like that's just what I swear they make the songs for the intention of it being chopped and screwed. They'll record it in the regular tempo, you know what I'm saying? But they'll do it at a speed, I think, with the intention, knowing that they're gonna chop it and screw it, and so that it will just naturally sound better once it's chopped and screwed, if that's your thing, you know. So, and it's my thing, and you have got to listen to it. Like, so because the whole album plays like one track, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no like if you put in track, say 5, you know what I mean? It's gonna be a holdover from track 4, just like track 6, it's gonna bleed into track 6. You know what I'm saying? So the whole album's that way. It's essentially like one long album, one long song. You know what I mean? But it is so good. It is so good. I fucking love that album. So yeah, it's called Get Your Mind Correct by Paul Wall and Chameleonaire. It's old as fuck. Like it's from like 2002 or some shit. I don't fucking know. It's old as shit. But Paul Wall and Chameleonaire, Get Your Mind Correct, chopped and screwed version. Listen to that shit. It's just so good. You know what I mean? Let me know too, like once you listen to it, if you listen to it, what your favorite song was or your favorite lyric from the album. I mean, it's so good. Like all of them. Play Dirty. That's one of my favorite songs on the album. Play Dirty. Um, My Money Gets Jealous. That's really good. You know what I mean? My Money Gets Jealous. Um, what is the other one besides Play Dirty? My Money Gets Jealous. I'm like thinking it in my head, so I'm trying to get to the verse. Love in My Life. That's what it's called. Love in My Life. Like the letter N, love in my life. So I don't know if he's saying love inside of his life or loving his life. You know what I'm saying? But within the context of the lyrics, I would assume the latter. It's about loving his life from the lyrics. You can just tell like from what he's saying, but you gotta fucking listen to that shit, man. Um, that's an album I really, really like, really love. So yeah. Anywho, I'm gonna get off of here, right? So thanks. Then you know what? Matter of fact, next time I go live, I'm gonna juggle. Remember that. I'm gonna be juggling my next short. Next time I go live, it'll be when I get a new book. Okay, because I'm about to place an order for a book. I don't know which book yet. Because at the backs of these books, they be having like their reference material. And I mean, not this book. I don't care so much about that one, but like the Jesus books, it'll have like other reference material for other books that they referenced in there as they're making their God or against Christ. And so I want to like look in the back of that, look for those books, see if they're available at the bookstore that I shop at. And then if so, then I'll get that. I saw one that I want to get by Richard Carrier. It's called On the Historicity of Jesus, but it's like 700 something pages. It's like, bro, I ain't there yet. You know what I mean? 700 something pages, like 300 something, 400 something, even I can deal with, but 700 something pages, god damn. But I mean, if we're talking about the historicity of Jesus, I guess it warrants 700 something pages. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I might, if I get that, then that's the only book I'm getting for a while, because it's going to take me a minute, I'm assuming, to get through it. Because I don't know how Richard Carrier writes. A lot of these other authors, I understand how they write because I understand how they talk, and how they punctuate or whatever. But I'm not that familiar with Richard Carrier shit. I know he critiques Bart Ehrman sometimes. I don't know how often, but I know he's critiqued Bart Ehrman because Bart Ehrman believes, even though he's an atheist, he believes that there was a historical Jesus who did exist at some point. Others don't believe so, and Richard Carrier is one of those. Richard Carrier is what is called a mythicist. He believes the entire story of Jesus is a myth. He doesn't believe there ever was a historical Jesus, and he makes a pretty. I mean, he makes a case for it. I don't know how compelling it is because I haven't heard the case he's made for it or read any of his work regarding the case. So I don't know, but just I assume it's a pretty decent case he makes for it. I mean, he has a video he did because he was interviewed recently. I don't know if it was recently, but I know he did an interview with Godless Engineer where they sort of critiqued Bart Ehrman, and sort of, I guess, tried to point out flaws or whatever in some of his arguments. I mean, whatever, you know what I mean? I felt some kind of way because I got like a lot of Bart Ehrman's books, and I since seeing them critique him, that made me like reread the books to see like, is there somewhere where I could disagree, you know? And it's not like I reread them all since watching them. I've reread them plenty of times. You know what I'm saying? Like misquoting Jesus, I probably read that like 5 times. You know what I mean? And since watching that video probably once, you know, but um yes, I would need to know what evidence he can adduce that would substantiate the claim that there was a historical person named Yeshua or Jesus or something of that nature who lived in or about, you know, 4 BC, you know what I'm saying, or some shit like that or whatever, until he died in 33, on or about 33 AD, CE, however you phrase it. You know, I would need to know what evidence we have that there was one by that name who existed at that time, um, during that time, at that time and place, and who was crucified. We would need records from the Romans who allegedly kept meticulous records of a lot of shit, and that would have definitely been one of them. Of their people that they crucified, I would need to know that Jesus was one of those people who was crucified, and then I need to know what was done with the body. You know what I mean? And right now, that last part, that last question, they have no idea. I mean, they have ideas, but they don't know conclusively one way or the other what they would have done with the body. Just given that, like they know, they have ideas of what is likely to have happened, given what we know about what the disposition of the body would have been under Roman rule at the time. And a lot of times, if you were crucified, the whole point of you even being crucified was to humiliate you, to send a message. It meant to be excruciatingly painful. You know, it's just one of the worst kinds of deaths. And oftentimes they would just leave the body there. Like they wouldn't take it down and bury it. They wouldn't put it in a tomb. They would just leave it there for the birds to ravage it. You know what I mean? And just scavenger from it. That's what they would typically do. You know, and then whatever remains were left, they might just disregard, you know, into a pit. You know, now some people will try to claim that, well, in Jewish tradition, you know, they have to bury their dead that day, but there is no evidence that would suggest that the rulers, the Romans at the time, given the precedent that was already set with history, you know, given how the Romans were known to have treated criminals or whatever, there's no precedent that would suggest that they would have given a fuck what your Jewish tradition was. Motherfucker, once the state has said, once the Caesar or whatever, Pontius Pilate, once ever he was like, look, you are mine, you are under the state, you are done. I don't give a fuck what your religion says, you know, you fucking weirdo Christians or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? He was like, I don't care about none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if they tried to plead to him, which I don't think they would have done, but even if they tried to plead with him, like, please, it's our custom to bury our dead the same day. He'd have been like, man, get the fuck out of here. I don't give a fuck about that. What you mean? You know, it's like that's the precedent that was set, that they were ruthless. They did not give a fuck. Like, bro, once you are committed, when you are been charged with a crime, and especially a crime where they felt like it was worthy of crucifying you, they don't give a fuck what your people thought. Like motherfucker, nah, we gonna leave him up there. You know, I'm not putting him in a tomb. Fuck you mean? Like, so there's no evidence. So I would need to know what evidence we have. This person lived at that time in that place and was charged with him, that was worthy of crucifixion by the people who thought it was worthy of crucifixion. And that where are the records that said that that person was crucified? And then what did they do with the body? You know what I mean? I would need to know all of that before I could accept and actually truly believe that that person lived, and that any of the stories about his life, even if it's just regular shit, like, oh, he lived here, this person was his mom, these were his brothers, I don't even give a fuck about that. This person live at all. I don't care nothing about no brothers or where he was born or who his mom is. Did he live at all? You know, then we can talk about all that shit. You know what I mean? But I haven't seen the evidence for that. I would need to look into it, but there hasn't been any new evidence that would suggest anything different. But even if there were, all it would do is like, all right, fine. We can now say conclusively that someone named Jesus, Yeshua, or some of the other lived at that time and place. All right, so what? That doesn't mean anything. Like, all right, some dude lived at some time. Wow. He had a popular following. Okay, so did David Koresh. That didn't mean fucking shit. Jesus to me, to first century Palestine, is what David Koresh is to the United States in the 21st century or the 20th century. Like, you're just some dude. All right. You're some dude who thought a lot of himself, who some people followed. That's it. You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck. Like, so what? There have been a lot of people who lived who've done the same thing. You know what I mean? Or better, done more things, but we don't seem to give a fuck about those people. Jesus ain't even special. Anyway, all right, man, I'm done for real. Like, I'm done. I'm out. Yeah, I'm done. Ha!